Chosen one, get ready now. Write 333 in the comments now because you have an invitation from the highest council of the galaxy. For years, you thought you were trapped in the narrow patterns of the world, in the limited perspectives of men, in the chains of the past, but the true masters of the universe have been watching you all along. In their eyes, you carry a value beyond the stars. The throne prepared for you is no ordinary seat. It is a seat of power that changes the destiny of every chosen soul in the sky. Life, my friend, is a lot like being handed a lantern on a foggy night. You carry it for others, lighting their path, never realizing how little light shines back your way. There are times when your shoulders feel like the beams holding up someone else's house, always steady, always bearing weight. Nobody else even notices. You step in to fix the leaky roof before anyone knows there's rain coming, patching up cracks in hearts and holding whole families together with prayer and persistence. But even after pouring yourself out, the thank yous are few, and the recognition is as faint as a whisper in a storm. You keep pressing forward, believing somewhere deep down that hard work and quiet sacrifice are going to swing wide the gates of blessing. You tell yourself, surely the Lord sees me. Surely the door will open soon. But time after time, you grip the handle of opportunity, only to feel the resistance, a lock you didn't put there, a barrier you can't explain. In those moments, it's easy to wonder, did I miss my calling? Did I make a wrong turn? But hear me now, sometimes when doors won't budge, it's not your fault at all. Sometimes it's because invisible forces, old agreements, quiet schemes, people in the background arranging things to benefit themselves, have been busy nailing those doors shut, hoping you'll settle for less than what you're anointed to receive. You see, chosen ones are often the last to know there's a chess game being played behind their backs. You feel the chill of rejection and start to think you failed, never realizing it's the shadow of someone else's plan. Yet even as the silence grows heavier, don't you let it define your worth. Because what's written in the spirit can't be erased by a locked door. There's a harvest coming for every unnoticed sacrifice, a breakthrough waiting on the other side of this season. What others try to block, God can make a way right through it. You are the lantern bearer, the one called to keep shining even when it seems no one notices. And let me tell you, there's a dawn on the horizon, and your name is written all over it. Imagine a vineyard where, under the guise of care, someone wanders the rows at night, touching each grape, inspecting every leaf, whispering reassurance, while quietly snipping the ripest fruit for their own table. That's what so-called check-ins can become when offered by hidden harvesters of your strength. Chosen one, what you thought was gentle concern, how are you holding up, was more like a secret inspection, a ledger in disguise, tallying your every triumph and your every stumble. These words, soft as a summer breeze, carried the weight of surveillance. Each smile, each "I'm here for you," concealed another notation, another claim staked on your vulnerability for some future advantage. Under that pleasant veneer, you were not being supported, you were being sized up. Your pace was noted, your priorities catalogued, your confidences filed into mental folders labeled, if needed. That hidden record wasn't meant to cheer your victories. It was meant to stockpile evidence for the next time they wanted to clip your wings. What should have felt like an embrace of solidarity felt instead like a tightening net, woven from whispered concerns and anchored by the fear of disappointing those who unwittingly or perhaps deliberately crafted your cage. But here's the truth no one saw coming. The harvesters forgot that the best vines, the choicest grapes, thrive precisely because they bend toward the sunlight of their own destiny. They never counted on the moment you'd realize their help was a ruse, that your true vine grows in freedom, not in someone else's shadow. Once the realization took root, every subtle tendril of control they wove against you began to wither in the light of your self-awareness. Their ledger lost its power the moment you refused to be catalogued as someone else's project. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. Now, chosen one, you stand ready to prune away the dead wood of false loyalty. You've learned that genuine care is the kind that waters you freely, then steps back to let you bear fruit. You've discovered that real allies cheer you on without needing reports of your daily routines, that true encouragement doesn't come with conditions or silent agreements. As you break free from that clandestine inspection, you reclaim every grape, every leaf, every drop of your own sweet wine. The path forward is wide and sunlit. No more secret trimmings, no more hidden harvesters. You plant seeds of authentic connection, people who celebrate your growth, not hoard your struggle. You build a vineyard of wholehearted souls where each tender is as free to flourish as you are. And every time a so-called friend tries to slip in a tally of your weaknesses, you simply smile, for you know your truth is written in the rings of your roots, not in someone else's notebook. Let me set the stage for you with a simple metaphor. Chosen one, picture a river that once wound its way around obstacles, squeezed and dammed by hands that wanted to control its flow. For years, the banks rose high, trying to hem it in, make it predictable, harvest its waters on someone else's schedule. But in the fullness of time, the river remembered its source, deep, pure, uncontainable. With one mighty surge, it spilled past every artificial wall and found its own course, flooding the fields with life and possibility no engineer ever dared to imagine. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. That's what happens when you step out from every net they tried to weave around you. The shadows of yesterday lose their grip when you choose the light of today. You become living proof that no amount of manipulation can take what was planted by divine purpose. The vineyard of your destiny is vast, so much bigger than the narrow plots others thought you deserved. Those fences built by their fear, gone, overtaken by the wild abundance of promise that's been waiting for you since the foundation of time. You are not here to be managed, trimmed, or kept in tidy rows for someone else's benefit. You're the vine that turns hardship into wisdom, that transforms every storm into sweeter fruit, every disappointment into deeper roots. Just as the earth needs the sun and the rain, your journey needed the testing of shadow and drought to awaken all your potential. But the harvest is yours, chosen one. All those hidden ledgers, those secret accounts of what you owe or who you should have been, they're powerless here. Not a single grape can be claimed by the ones who tried to keep you small. And as you gather the fruit of your persistence, let the overflow be your testimony. Every new row of blessing, every fresh cluster of opportunity, every taste of joy is a declaration. You are free, you are chosen, you are walking in the field God promised you, not because of their permission, but because of your persistence, your faith, and the unstoppable power of being true to yourself. This is your inheritance. Walk the vineyard, rejoice in the abundance, and never ever look back at those old fences, because the only direction now is forward, toward more life, more hope, and a legacy that multiplies far beyond what any ledger could measure. Let me bring it home for you with a picture so plain, so sacred, even the oldest heart can understand. Life's been like sitting in an old wooden rowboat, tethered to a rickety dock, on a lake you've never been allowed to cross. All around you, the air is thick with other people's memories, their warnings, that's just the way it is. You hear the creak of old ropes, expectations looped around your wrists, holding you close to shore. You've learned how to be quiet, how to nod, how to carry the weight of tradition and keep the water still, lest you rock the boat and get everybody else wet. But then, just when it seems like nothing could ever change, a wind stirs, gentle at first, then gathering strength. It's the breath of freedom, the whisper of spirit, blowing in from beyond the shore. All at once, those ropes slip loose. That's the moment your soul sits up straight. Your lungs fill with the air of possibility, and your eyes see the horizon, wide and wild, for the first time in years. It might be set off by something so small, a sideways comment, a thoughtless request, an old story you've outgrown. Suddenly you recognize you've been paddling in circles in someone else's pond, following a map that never had your name on it. Now, beloved, you're pulling up anchor. You're choosing to untie from all the musty ought-tos and stale shoulds. With every fresh breath, you're steering that boat toward waters nobody else has charted, toward your own blessing, not the borrowed approval of others. You're done making yourself smaller to fit the pew or quieter to fit the crowd. The holy breeze of awakening is at your back, and it's not just fresh air, it's resurrection. That's what it means to finally live by the light breaking through. Windows wide open, heart unburdened, ready for the journey you were always meant to make. Let me put it plain, just like a preacher would, to a room full of folks who know the ache of waiting their whole lives for permission. Imagine, beloved, you've been living in a house built by other people's blueprints. Every room is too narrow, the ceilings just a little too low, the furniture fixed in place by what everybody else calls good sense. You shuffle around on tiptoe, careful not to make a mess, always worried you'll get mud on the rug or bump a picture frame that's been hanging crooked for years. That's how it goes when you let the world hand you a measuring tape and say, "This is as far as you're allowed to grow." Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. But then, the Spirit blows through, like a summer storm that doesn't ask for permission to wake up the whole street. With one act of holy defiance, a simple, "I can't do that today," or "That's not for me," You feel the floorboards shift, the dust rise off your shoulders. The walls don't fall down all at once, but you can see cracks of light, feel air you didn't know you were missing. Every time you say no to shrinking, every time you say yes to the truth inside you, those invisible chains loosen. You might even hear the echoes of your grandmother's prayers or your grandfather's stubborn hope rising up in the marrow of your bones, reminding you that you were never meant to live in a box. That's when the world stretches out, the ceiling lifts, and suddenly you can breathe. You realize you're not waiting for an invitation to the feast. You've always had a seat at God's banquet, right there with your name written in gold. The boundaries you draw don't just keep trouble out, they mark the territory of your blessing. And all that old thirst for approval, all that running after applause, starts to fade away, because you've found something better, living from the wellspring of dignity God put in you from the start. Now you're not just crossing the sea, you're claiming the promised land, one brave decision at a time, and the angels are still singing you forward. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Let me tell you, family, this is just like finally standing on a mountaintop after years of wandering in the valleys. Picture it. You've been climbing, stumbling through brambles, feet sore and lungs burning, all the while wondering if you'd ever see the sunrise from a place wide enough for your soul. Now here you are, standing, where the view stretches farther than you ever imagined, the wind of destiny at your back, your chest open to hope you thought had passed you by. That's what it feels like when a chosen one finally sets both feet in the soil of freedom. Maybe you spent years living in someone else's shadow garden, tending to plants that never bore your name, watering roots that never grew your own harvest. But now it's a different season. The fields ahead aren't fenced in by somebody else's expectations. The air isn't heavy with the dust of old disappointments. It's fresh, sweet, carrying the scent of new beginnings and the song of possibilities still unfolding. You've been gifted a key, and every door that once slammed shut is swinging wide at your touch. That's what happens when grace meets grit. And don't forget, every time you feel those old chains rattling, or the world tries to hang another curtain over your light, you already know what to do. Open those windows. Let the Spirit flood the room again. Take your place at the head of the table God set just for you. Because chosen one, this isn't just survival. This is your arrival. It's your time to write new psalms, plant new seeds, and claim the inheritance that's been waiting for you since the beginning. You're not walking into another trap. You're dancing into freedom, knowing now that nobody can ever box you in again. Sometimes we picture the end of an era as a thunderclap, a storm of accusations, doors slamming, voices raised in protest. But for those set apart, those who carry the quiet anointing of the chosen, it doesn't happen that way. Imagine a lantern burning in the night. It doesn't shout when it's time to leave. It simply gets picked up and carried into another room, and the space it leaves behind grows dim, colder, more hollow with each passing minute. The world expects a commotion when you choose yourself. They brace for shouts, for pleading, for an avalanche of reasons. Yet what actually comes is softer, more sacred. You don't argue. You don't beg. You simply rise, dust the blessings from your shoulders, and walk out with your peace still intact. No curtain call, no final bow, just the gentle hush that follows a spirit moving toward purpose. It's in the silence that the lesson lands. The very people who believed you were part of the scenery, easy to overlook, always available, quietly holding it all together, suddenly feel the temperature drop. They scan the room for the warmth that's missing and realize what they'd always taken for granted wasn't the stage, but the steady light you brought to it. The absence becomes the revelation. The emptiness reveals the true worth of a presence that never demanded the spotlight, but changed everything it touched. And beloved, as you leave behind the script that was written for someone else's comfort, you step into your own promised land, a place where your soul is free, your calling is clear, and your worth is no longer up for debate. This is how the chosen move, not in noise, but in grace, not in drama, but in destiny. Imagine a grand old orchard, its tallest trees long believed to be untouchable, shading the ground and dropping fruit only for those they favored. For years, certain hands have tended those branches, quietly deciding who gets in and who stays out, whispering between the rows about what's ripe and what's rotten. But seasons change. When the sun shifts, shadows retreat, and every branch that leaned on secrecy must stand on its own. Suddenly, the harvest is inspected in daylight. Those who spent years planting rumors and pruning the truth are left standing in open fields, no longer shielded by the thicket of collective agreement. They find themselves tallying what's been sown, every whispered doubt, every half-truth, every calculated omission. The ground begins to tremble beneath their feet, not because of a storm, but because the roots of deception were always too shallow to hold. The structures they built, so careful, so secret, start to sway as everyone sees them for what they truly are. And as the orchard clears, each former caretaker faces their own reflection in the clear light. There is no hiding behind another's shadow now. In this new day, the fruit that remains is that of truth, and only those who walked in honesty will taste the sweetness of the season ahead. Like a craftsman who inherits a neglected patch of earth and envisions a sanctuary instead of a ruin, a new creation rises from the dust of what once was, no longer spending your days tending to the cracks in someone else's foundation. You pick up your own tools, hope, faith, and a clear-eyed honesty, and start laying down bricks of purpose with your own hands. It's as if God pressed the reset button on your garden. Every old weed of worry is replaced by seeds of possibility. The walls you build now are not for hiding, but for sheltering the good things growing in your spirit. Where every victory used to be hidden like contraband, now your wins are celebrated with genuine applause, not polite obligation. When setbacks come, they are no longer pitfalls, but paving stones, leading to higher ground rather than trapping you in old cycles. Each ambition you set aside for the comfort of others finally finds room to grow. You water these dreams with gratitude and watch as new relationships blossom, rooted not in duty or performance, but in real, soul-level connection. There's a calm that settles, like rain on dry soil, and a joy that fills your days, a joy that has nothing to do with outshining or conquering anyone else. Instead, the greatest satisfaction is a quiet certainty. Your story doesn't need embellishment, approval, or permission. Your truth, just as it is the foundation of a life that can weather any storm. And that, beloved, is the real miracle. Peace, planted where chaos once ruled, flourishing under the light of your own conviction. Like a river breaking free from a dried-up channel, your journey bends in new directions, no longer damned by the old expectations or boundaries others tried to cement around you. Now, it's your own compass that sets the course, and every step you take carves a deeper current of purpose through the landscape of your days. With each promise you make to yourself, every principle You refuse to trade for comfort or approval. You're painting your life's mural in vivid colors that can't be washed away by outside opinion. What used to be a footnote in someone else's story is now a headline in your own book. A book where your spirit writes the chapters as boldly as a preacher calls the faithful to hope. No more waiting in the wings for permission to enter. You take center stage, not for applause, but because you understand your role was always meant to be central, not supporting. Like a conductor guiding an orchestra, your choices become the melody and your integrity the rhythm, giving the whole composition a resonance that reaches beyond the walls of any single room. And just like a simple seed planted in faith, what grows now can't help but bear fruit, because it's been nourished by your own conviction, watered by the lessons of struggle, and warmed by a divine light that shines not from outside, but from within. So the music of your life rings out, not as a faint echo of someone else's dream, but as a living testament to what happens when you finally trust yourself to steer by the map written on your heart. Like a candle set in the window on a stormy night, one small, unwavering light becomes a beacon for countless souls wandering through their own darkness. The simple act of holding fast to your truth, quiet at first, but growing bolder with every new sunrise, becomes a lighthouse, guiding others safely to the shore of their own awakening. Now is the time to share God's blessings. By clicking the super thank you button on YouTube, you can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Now let's paint it plain, just how the good book would have you see it, friend. Imagine you've spent a lifetime trudging through a dense, thorny forest, branches tugging at your sleeves, brambles scratching your skin, the sun mostly a memory. Every step felt lonely, every mile a silent prayer that maybe, just maybe, someone out there could hear your song through the trees. But then, something holy happens. One morning, you notice your footprints have become a trail, and behind you, others are stepping out from the shadows, drawn by the light you didn't know you were carrying. It's not just a walk anymore. It's a sacred parade. You're not just surviving. You're leading, just by living true. The courage you grew in the quiet places is now shining brighter than a lantern on a dark night. It's a beacon, calling out to anyone who ever felt unseen or unheard, saying, "Come on out. There's room for you too." You're the living proof that nobody's journey through confusion or pain is wasted. Every tear, every whispered prayer in the wilderness has become a stepping stone, not just for you, but for everyone longing for hope. So don't underestimate the power of your own path. When you walk in the strength God gave you, even if you started out alone, you end up gathering a family behind you. Your journey becomes a sanctuary, a new way forward, a living invitation for others to rise and walk toward the clearing, where grace waits. And beloved, that's how you know you're chosen, not just because you made it out, but because you became the light others use to find their way home. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Your trials, once carried in silence, become sermons of victory, the kind preached not just from pulpits, but through the daily, steady insistence on living as the person you were designed to be. In this, your life becomes more than a survival story. It becomes a call to action, an invitation for others to rise from the ashes of what tried to bury them. And just as the roots of an ancient tree reach out, silently nourishing everything in their circle, your journey sends out unseen blessings, strengthening, uplifting, awakening possibility in lives you may never even meet. Your authenticity, chosen one, becomes the seed from which new gardens of freedom are planted year after year. It's the echo of a divine promise that every genuine voice, once heard, once freed, will go on to multiply hope until the whole field is lit with the fires of transformation.